Hi everyone, my name is Hector and I produce under my alias of Hektagon. I've been meaning to do this for quite a long time really, and I always felt like I wanted to share my knowledge with the world, so here I am. So I'll give you a little bit of background. I guess I've been teaching for well over 7 years now, music production with Ableton, and I also been producing for over 20 years as well. And and I thought that sharing some of the things I've been encountering, or maybe some of the things I find useful, could be beneficial for some of you. So my approach to things is try to do more with less, and also try to make the most out of what you got. I know there's a lot of companies out there that are always going to try to sell you the latest synth to get the latest sound and all that stuff. That's fine and dandy, but ultimately music production should be about what's in your head, and should be about how are you able to utilize the tools at your disposal, right? So I'm going to start today by talking about Operator. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I just wanted to kind of like walk you through some basics, but I want to do it in such a way that you can actually see some results. And I wanted to create maybe like a kick drum, and also if there's time and snare, and a quick bass sound, just to give you an idea on the power of this synthesizer. So as a quick demonstration, I've got this bit here, and I've got some bass sounds. I tend to work at 174 at the moment. I guess it's because I've been influenced by Bristol, really, and there's obviously bass music, as you know. So I'm just going to play this for you very quickly. So all the sounds you're about to hear were created with Operator. So kick, snare, and hat. Right, a little bit of reverb, maybe too much reverb, we'll turn it down. Right, and also I've got different bass sounds here. Well, it's just the same bass, but I've got different patterns that I can switch in between. So just to give you an idea. There you go. So anyway, so different, I love clips anyway. Clips are amazing. They're great to get some things to get, just to get some different variations and so on and so forth. Anyway, so let's get cracking with Operator. Just got it in front of me, loaded the full patch. And what I can do here is I can select, I just got a sign in there. I got the spectrum analyzer, and I can play around with this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a kick drum. Because we don't want the kick to change in pitch as I play around with the keys on my keyboards, I'm just going to set that to fixed mode, and I'm going to dial in on a specific frequency. So the frequency right now is 100, which is a bit too high for the kick that we want to create. So I'm going to bring it down quite low. So maybe 48 Hz is pretty low, so if you listen to this on the speakers, you might not be able to hear this. But yeah, so what we're going to do is just set it up that way. And the other thing here, if you have a look at the envelope, right, what we can do is we can change this up into trigger mode. And trigger mode, basically what it does, it bypasses the sustain. So even if I were to play a note really fast or hold it down for a bit, it's going to be the same length for the sound regardless, which is quite useful for drum sounds, right? So for now anyway, I've got a pattern here already which is meant to sound like a kick. So let me just stop those other clips from playing very quickly. So this one, right, so let me just turn it up a notch. So at the moment doesn't sound quite like a kick. Let's just shape the sound a little bit. Let's just bring this decay, just make that shorter. There you go. And the other thing as well that we might want to do is just add in some pitch envelope movement there. Because naturally when you hit a kick drum, there is a movement to the pitch of the sound, right? Now the initial hit on a main bring, for example, when you hit the membrane on a kick drum, the surface is gonna, the tension of the surface is gonna change, right? So it's gonna go for like a loads of tension at the beginning, and then it's gonna release, and then it's gonna wobble a bit, and the pitch is gonna go down. So that's the sound we're looking for, and that's the sound that we want to create. So with a pitch envelope, just adding some movement there. I'm going to bring this initial so we can shape it. And also change that to trigger. That's not too bad, I guess. And I can also make this a little bit more complex by adding some additional partials or harmonics, just to add some additional layers of complexity. So I'm going to start by adding the third. There you go. So it starts to sound a little bit more like almost like a trap kit. Cool. We can also layer another operator on top, and what this is going to do is going to modulate the one below. But what we want to do with this is just kind of like finding another sweet spot for the kick drum, so we can add some additional energy as just above that frequency that we got set up here on 48 Hertz. So maybe just add a little bit more oomph. Maybe above 100 Hertz or thereabouts. And again, I'm going to set that to trigger. There we go. There we go, cool. Right, so that's the sound that we can get. Let's just, I'm going to do a quick snare now, just by duplicating the patch. So I'm going to set this snare on the 1.3. So it's off the kicks, there we go. So it's more like a half tempo, sort of drum bass beat. So obviously that doesn't sound like a snare at the moment. So what we're going to do with this one here, that one, we're going to pitch it up. Let's see, bring the frequency much higher. Let me just shorten the decay. Yeah, that's pretty high, maybe a little bit too high actually. There we go. So now we need to add the noisy sort of part to the kick. So I'm going to change these algorithms here to a square algorithm. So basically we got two carriers. So we got A is generating the kind of like low end of our snare, and C, which is the blue one, that's going to be taking care of the noisy part of the snare, or the tail of the snare. So I'm just going to set that to fixed as well. But what I'm going to do is just going to make this really high, right? So it's a very high pitch, and then I'm going to modulate it with D. And when you modulate a signal, right, you can see that at the moment in this particular algorithm, you can see that D is modulating C. We're going to get quite a sort of high noise, and if the modulation is strong enough, it will create noise, right? Just by adding a little bit of feedback as well. There we go, cool. So set that again to trigger. Make a gap at the beginning. There we go. Cool. Nice one. Alright, so I'm going to set that one as well to trigger. There we go. So then we can adjust the settings here, maybe shortening the decay, maybe the release. There we go, and then we got the kick. Cool, so now we got a kick, we got a snare we created by using operator, right? And obviously we can add more layers into that, we can add more complexity and so on. But the other thing as well I'm going to do is I'm going to add another MIDI channel. Let's just create a really basic bass of some sort. So I'm just going to select this operator again. So that's just going to be a basic sound, just going to bring it up. Right, so what we can do here is we can play around with these chord settings. Depending on the values of the chord settings is going to result in a different sort of waveform. So for now I'm going to use a value of 2 to kind of create something that resembles a square. So if it's 1 and 1, it's going to resemble a sawtooth sound. If it's 1 for the carry and 2 for the modulator, it's going to resemble a square. One of the things that's really cool as well is that we can play around with the attack on that, right? Right, so if I wanted to play that now, obviously it's not going to sound that exciting yet, but let's have a listen. So you can hear that note sustain, and you can hear that low end rumble there. If I were to bring the sustain a little bit up on the modulator, there we can hear that sort of movement. We can hear the tempo is a lot more complex, right? And I'm going to change this to 0.5. No, actually leave it at 1. Play around with the fine tune. There you go, so you start getting that sort of movement. There we go, that's cool. Obviously that's a really basic sound. We can also modulate this sound or increase the complexity. For example, I can go to the carrier and I can add some additional values there. For example, I can add some additional harmonics. There we go. I can even go to the modulator as well and do the same. Right, there we go, cool. So anyway, that's just a quick introduction to Operator. I hope you enjoyed some of these, and yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you.